Well, we have another episode of Mr. Big Mouth. I have someone here today, and this is Rich Valdez. Say hello. Hey, Rich. Good to see you.
What's up, brother? Good to see you, James.
Good to see you too, man. Pleasure. So, Rich, tell everybody what you do, and then we'll get into everything.
Well, I talk on a microphone, kind of like you do, and I have a lot of fun doing it.
You had a lot of fun doing it. Specifically, where is that microphone located?
I've got a studio, World Trade Center, downtown New York City. We do a radio show every night called Rich Valdez, America at Night. It's, believe it or not, it's the old Jim Bohannon and Larry King show. So the show is actually older than me and has an incredible reach across the country. So I get the privilege of doing this every night, live and national, 300 radio stations, about 6 million listeners. It's really a treat.
Wow. Do you have to wear the suspenders like Larry? In
I
the spirit
did,
of Larry?
In the spirit of Larry, I did in the beginning.
You did, right? That's nice. Good. Respect. So great. So you do a radio show. What is the radio show about? What are you talking about?
We talk about everything. We talk about popular culture. We talk about things that are happening in entertainment, and of course the biggest news headlines of the day, which usually happen to be political. We now have somebody I like to call El Trumpito, Donaldus Magnus, the 45th and 47th president of these United States. This guy is, I guess he used to be a media hound, but now he's a media magnet, right? If he moves to the left, he moves to the right, whatever it happens, he's the headline every day. Whatever news you're looking at, it's Trump did this, Trump said that. So we usually dissect what's going on in Washington D.C. and then how it spills over into the rest of popular culture.
He is an advertiser's a dream, and he says it when he says like, I'm good for ratings. He knows that. He comes from television, and what's really cool about Trump is that we have a unique thing with Trump because we live right across the river.
Yeah.
So everybody knows him as Trump and all his shows and Home Alone and all of that, but we've gotten to see him through our lives on a local level. There's a local Trump, and there's the national, now President Trump that's out there.
This is something I talk about on the radio a lot, is that oftentimes I think you meet people and they're like, I don't know, I just don't like the guy. I just don't like the guy. And I tell them, I have a bias towards that because I've always liked the guy because he was always Trump. He was always this mega billionaire from New York City. He was making the New York skyline. He was redoing Atlantic City. He's always been this larger-than-life figure in the media. So it was, he's a constant for me. Yeah. But back to your point, you were going to say, I had the pleasure of having Trump on the show, and when he was on the show, he said, "Listen, get ready. It's going to be great for ratings. It's going to be terrific. It's going to be huge." So
you do a good Trump. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That's really, really good. I haven't gotten it down yet, so I like that you call him El Trumpito. I thought I coined that name, but I guess you ran with it. But yeah, I mean, just to delve into the topic of the day, what's been going on. Obviously, it was the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Yeah.
Absolutely devastating. I can't even watch it. I saw it once, and it's surreal. I think that's the word I'm looking for, is surreal. Yeah. But it really has, and I've noticed it, and a tremendous amount of creators come here through Big Mouth Studio, right? There's no politics involved, right? We're creating art, we're doing all of that, but just I hear the conversations, and I don't know where these people are politically aligned, but I kind of hear it, and it's like, wow, that's a step too far. Because I guess you kind of see something like that, and depending whatever your politics are, you don't want it to get to the point where, wow, if you don't like what I'm saying, I'm going to take a shot in the neck. Really, is that what's going to happen? And and you're behind the scenes, you're in the media, you're talking politics on a daily basis. What are you hearing? And not so much. We hear what you say on TV in front of the cameras, but behind the cameras, you don't got to say anybody's name. How are they dealing with this right now? What is their the conversations being had?
Right now, I think most of the people I know in media and in the conservative movement and stuff like that, really everybody's kind of like where you were at, incredulous. Everybody's like, is this real? I know that's where I'm at, right? I've got people asking me, hey, are you going to be in Arizona this weekend for Charlie's Memorial? And I'm thinking to myself, is this still really happening? Is this still really a thing? Yeah. It just amazes me. Not that long ago, a year or two ago, I was hanging out with Charlie Kirk in Mar-a-Lago, shooting the breeze, talking to the guy. I've had him on my show a couple of times. He's a very cool dude. Not somebody. If somebody told me they assassinated you, that's how I feel. Yeah. Just a chill dude.
Yeah.
Right. He was a good debater. Yeah. But outside of that, not somebody that he wasn't an elected official. No. He wasn't. But he was somebody that was leading a nationwide movement towards Jesus, towards conservatism, and clearly that threatened somebody.
Yeah.
To the point where they thought, I got to end this guy's life. And that, like you said, this is a very concerning thing. More concerning honestly, more concerning is that there are more of those people.
Yeah.
That think that's okay, this is what you do. If I don't like what you do, if you threaten my way of thinking, you should die.
Yeah, I mean, you see all the polls come out, 40%, 45% agree with, killing your political opponent. It has gone way beyond fringe right at this point, right? It's not a fringe movement. It's kind of pop culture. But I kind of believe in humanity and all the craziness that there is. And I think part of it, and what I do with social media.
I'm sounding the alarm.
There you go. It's good. You're not the only one. Everyone that comes on their phones go off. I just drew a blank. There you go.
Of course, it was me sounding the alarm messed you all up.
Here we go. Let's run. Let's go. No.
40% of people.
40% of people are saying that they want, assassinations are okay, and that's just not okay, right? That's not. I said it. People always say about Trump, oh, if he was just calmed down and toned down and be this. That was Charlie. He was the toned down version of Trump, right? Yeah. He was the guy that I'll talk to you, right? And even the people, and maybe you met him, maybe I'm wrong, but he seemed like the type of guy that even if we adamantly opposed each other politically, but we had some kind of a relationship, we met a couple of times. He gets that 2 a.m. phone call, I'm stuck in a bind. He seemed like that type of guy that was like, yeah, what do you need? Good guy. Yeah, what can I do for you? How can I get you out of this bind? That kind of thing. And yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And what kills me is that I don't think people really appreciate, and here's something different in the conservative movement that he brought to the table that's completely new, at least in our lifetime.
Yeah.
His appeal was to the young.
Yeah.
Like, you think of Republicans, the way they've branded Republicans over the decades is like it's old country club type, white men, blah, 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 blah. No, this guy was in the trenches, in the colleges, right? Where where you go and pay and pay your tuition and paid over for 20 years to be indoctrinated, basically. And he was going in there into the lion's den and having a good conversation. Would always call the people that disagreed with him up to the front and everything else. And absolutely nuts. And I heard yesterday that Erica was named CEO, his wife, of
I think
Turning
that's a
Point.
good move.
Yeah, it's a very good move. There's a picture of her going around from when she gave her speech. She's giving that look in the camera, and you're like, a woman scorned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's watch out, right? It's something's going to happen here. Amazing. Like I said, it doesn't feel real, but I guess, now you see everything kind of starting to take place. Now, certain things got to happen. I hate to say that. That's the worst thing to say. Like, certain things got to happen for other things to happen. Like, I don't want anybody ever, no matter who you are, on what side of the aisle, taking a bullet to the neck. But, things actually turn out the other way. So besides Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah.
What else is going on in the movement, in the conservative movement, or in politics in general? Like, this is our first, believe it or not, and you know me, this is our first political show. Yeah, this is my first show talking about politics. Like, I kind of wanted to not stay away from it, but there's a whole other world. So just so you know, and anybody watching this, because you see me now, Mr. Big Mouth, before 2020, before COVID, politics and religion and my business never meshed, right? My friends, family, we talk, whatever, behind the scenes. Once they shut down everything and that happened, everybody else was putting masks on. I took mine off. I said, okay, here I am and doing what I'm doing. So, it's been a kind of a wild ride. But, to that point, what is besides Charlie, what else? Because that's kind of taken up all of it. What else is big in the news?
Well, one thing I want to say is very rarely will you ever see somebody say, you know what, I'm going to assassinate you because I don't like your sports team.
Yeah.
Or I don't like the T-shirt you're wearing, or that you're wearing a black cap. People get angry over the most important things in life, and they are politics and religion. Mm-hmm. The two things that you just talked about that you keep away, and it's not a criticism on you. I'm just saying we have been conditioned as a society to not engage in the most important debates we should engage in. Yeah. When it's your children, the most important things you can teach your children are about their politics and their religion, how to be a decent person, right? When you raise them. Ultimately, they're going to grow up, they're going to make their own decisions, but they have to have a framework. You have to give them something. And I think the reason we're in the place we're in right now is because we haven't had that. We now have a generation of children that grew up in, I'm going to say, a godless society. Whether you were a Christian or a Jew or anybody, even right here, right? We're on 44th Street, Union City, 37th Street, there were a bunch of Jews. When we were young, you respected everybody from every faith. We didn't. Today, that's not the case. Today, I guarantee you, no matter where you are, you see a couple of Orthodox Jews, somebody's going to make a comment.
Sure.
Say, oh, they did this, they did that, they kill these people, they do that. I hate those people because they do it has been woven into the fabric of so much of what we do. And a lot of it comes from academia. So like you said, people are going to get indoctrinated in these places. That's the absolute truth. The idea of higher education used to be something where you could go and learn all these different things, learn about philosophy, learn about economics, learn about whatever, and leave a more well-rounded, more intelligent person where you should be able to debate both sides. Even if you don't believe in both sides, at least know the talking points of each side. But today, it's so one-sided. It's as if the other side doesn't exist. God doesn't exist. Morality is optional, and that's why we have the problem we have. Now, to switch gears. You said what's going on in politics now. That's spilling over into local politics. Across the river in New York City, you've got somebody that is, by most accounts, on what he's said, a sympathizer of actual terrorists, people that have killed people in the name of Islamism, right? Zoran Mandami. He said that I don't think that we should discourage the term globalize the intifada, excuse me. So when you have someone that's making he's running for mayor, but he's talking about religion, right? So it goes back to what's important. He's talking about what's important to him. And to him, it's important to globalize this movement. So I think, again, if you're raising children right now, or if you're a young person right now, if you're an older person, whatever it is, everybody that is right now is saying, oh, so you got this guy running for mayor, and every other third word he says is affordability. We want to make things more affordable. We want to make it more affordable. Sure. But when you just go a few layers deep and listen to what he says in interviews, he's talking about rich people. I want your money so I can give it to these people so they don't have to work, so that we can. These are all communist ideas, yes. Right? He can call it socialist all he wants. That's fine. These socialist ideas are what have prevailed in communist societies for the last 300 years. So I think these are things that we need to talk about. It's nice to know who's going to go to the Super Bowl this year. It's nice to know who won the VMAs. I love a good red carpet. Yeah. But it's more important to know what's the future of the United States dollar. What is the future of the United States economy? Is it worth my while to make an investment in New York City, in Union City, in New Jersey? Where am I going to get the most bang for my buck? You need to know what's going on economically in order to make a move for yourself like that.
And here's the thing with communism. You talk to the regular non-political person, right? And you say the word communism or Marxist or socialist, yeah. And it automatically, they envision a certain looking person. So when you're having that debate with someone locally, like with the Mandami, with a normie, let's call them normies, people that are not politically astute, but they're, they just hear sound bites or whatever. I find that hard to overcome with having that conversation with people because, like, oh, he's not communist, but he is, and he'll just like a politician, he'll pivot when he has to sound a little bit more moderate. But like you said, his beliefs, how take the money from the rich and give it to them. So it's a very hard debate around here. Like, we live in America, and they hear communists, they think goose stepping and Russian music in the background, all that stuff going on, and that's not the case, right? There, it takes a different form in America. So I mean, how do you simplify it? For someone that's not politically involved. Me and you we're fans of politics.
Yeah,
obviously.
No, I get that.
You get it. You know what I'm saying?
And I see the obstacle. I can tell you this. Number one, we are losing that battle, right? It's not that we're losing the battle because if you don't educate people, right, if they've never read 1984, if they've never read Animal Farm, right, these are things, thank God my kids read these in school, and when they did, we had a good conversation. Yeah. And what I used for my kids always was, it's test day. You were told to read 3 chapters, and they're going to test you on these 3 chapters. Person next to you is like, yo, I didn't study. It's up to you if you want to help this person out of your own charitable desire.
Sure.
But if the teacher comes and says, look, James got a 20 and you got 100. If you give him 20 points, you still get an 80, and we can bring up his grade. And I can get 20 points from the other guy and 20 points. And I told my kids this when they were little. I was like, how would you feel? And my oldest daughter told me, she was like, that's cheating. It's unfair. And she's like, I had to study to get my grade. And it's important, I think, that you do it when they're young, because when you're older, sometimes you've already formed new opinions. You're like, who cares? It's all, you know, if I have, they all have. And that's okay, too. You're well on your way to being very charitable. The issue comes when the teacher's the one telling you to do it.
Yeah.
And forcing you to do it. And in this life situation that we're in, that's the government. Nobody wants the government to say, look, we're going to start taxing you at a higher rate because, well, you know, these guys, I don't know, it didn't go good for them, and we need to make sure we give them $1,200-$1,300 a month just for universal basic income.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we're going to, Mamdami's plan in New York City, he wants to give $65 million to the New York City Board of Education so that if anybody wants to get a sex change, that students can go to the Board of Ed and get a sex change.
That's crazy.
Right? I didn't make it up, he did.
I know,
Right? So,
I'm just saying, that's crazy. I mean, it's stuff like that is opening up people's eyes when they talk, again, communists, and then they hear that and they're like, wait, communists are into sex changes? Like, it's morphed. This is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Things morph. Like what communism was 80 years ago, the tenets are still the same, but the people delivering the message, sure, they may be different. The culture may shift a little bit, right? But yeah, and what kills me over in New York City too is that they've tried this there already.
Sure.
You know, it's
Bill de
always.
Blasio was there forever, and it sucked. The city's been going like this since.
I know. And believe it or not, you know, Adams kind of leveled it out. Like, as a Democrat, he's not.
I wouldn't even say that.
There you go.
I think he showed up, and, you know, I think Adams showed up, and he tried to make an inroad, or at least the appearance of a change. And he hired a police commissioner, a black woman named Keishant Sewell. Very effective, very smart. And she went to work, and she was there, I don't know, less than a year, I think. And she said, I'm out. And she didn't cut and run. They wouldn't let her do what she needed to do to police the city of New York. So kudos to her for doing it. Adams has been, in my opinion, an absolute abysmal failure. He gets a police commissioner. She's like, I got to go. You got my hands tied. She's out. Next police commissioner, Caban. Shout out to all the Boricuas out there. But guess what? Caban gets locked up.
Oh, Jesus.
He gets locked up on whatever corruption they charged him with. Now he's got his deputy mayor and the campaign people stuffing bags of potato chips with cash, giving it to the media. I'm not making it up. This is all real. This is what he's doing in New York. A woman was set on fire on the train. On his watch. The Roosevelt Hotel became a migrant facility on his watch. Little kids, 2-year-olds, getting shot in Times Square at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on his watch. There's no way New York City's gotten any better. He's tried to moderate the tone because he doesn't talk like a commie, like the other guy.
That's what I was getting at.
But the reality is,
but the
it's
actions
all
are the same.
there.
Yeah.
The system that he broke and the system he brought in is all there. And then you've got Cuomo. Cuomo, who was a horrible enough governor to get ousted from the governorship, was about to be prosecuted by the attorney general. He resigns in disgrace because, as Curtis Lewa says, he was slapping fannies and killing grannies with his horrible policies on COVID, right? The COVID policy.
I'm sorry to laugh, but
yeah, well, I know it is funny, but it's not, right? The joke is funny. The reality that he put COVID-infected individuals in nursing homes with the most elderly, the most vulnerable population, and people's abuelas died as a result of his incompetence as governor. And now he's saying, I want to be mayor in the city of New York. No, thank you. But guess what? He ran against Zoran Mandami in the primary, and he got crushed. Adams, crushed. So these guys are two-time losers, in my opinion. They couldn't do it in their regular job, and they couldn't do it against Mamdani. So you really have one candidate here who's only run for mayor once before in 2021, and he got almost 30% of the vote, and that's Curtis Lewa, the guy with the little red beret on.
There you go, Guardian's Angel.
Yeah, Guardian Angels, right. So, and I believe in my heart, New York City needs a Guardian Angel. This is the time and the place for a comeback. Just like when Mayor Dinkins ran New York City into the ground, and Giuliani ran 3 times in order to get that seat. But third time was the charm. I'm hoping it's the second time around for Curtis, because it would be real nice if we knew New York City the way you and I once did. Sure. Right? I remember, couldn't wait to go to the city. I used to have hair once, James. And guess what? I used to go get a fade, and there was nowhere to get a fade around here. I went to Ginger Rose or to Astor Place to get the dopest haircut.
I remember.
And that was just a vibe back then. And there was these things called nightclubs. I don't know if you remember the Tunnel, right? Of course you do. And New York City was known for its nightlife. New York City's not known right now. What's the biggest nightclub that's popping right now?
Nobody knows.
Exactly.
And everybody that comes through this place that we've talked to in the industry they can't answer it either.
Nobody can answer it.
Nobody can answer it. Doesn't matter what age range you are.
Because people are pulling out. People are pulling out of the city because people with money are pulling out of the city. People who invest in large clubs like that are pulling out of the city. Because why would you invest multi-millions of dollars in New York City where you're going to have all these crackheads running around and a horrible city administration when you could easily go to Miami? And you got your choice of Brickell, you got your choice of Miami, North Beach, Mid Beach, South Beach.
Sure.
There's so many options on where you can put your money and have a better party time.
So, I mean, but let me ask you a question. So they do the no cash bail thing in New York City, right?
Cuomo signed that.
Cuomo signed that, right? What is the infatuation? Is it old school liberal white guilt? Like,
yes,
they look down on minorities and they just feel like, oh, because as I'm going to say it, as a Republican, that's what always irked me about the Democrats is like, yes, you're the champion of the Hispanics and the blacks, but they don't look at them as equals. They look them as, well, we got to help them. And I'm different. I look at everyone as my equal until, you know what I'm saying? That's how it works. But is it that? Is it as simple as that?
I don't know that I could answer that question.
Who wants to let criminals back on the streets?
Well, I can tell you the why. I don't know the overall why, but the immediate why is very simple. They said, we feel like there's too many black men in jail. How do we stop them from going to jail? And instead of saying, let's help them to not commit crime, it was, don't prosecute them when they commit crime. So George Soros, Open Society Foundation, the rest of these people, they get their money together and they say, we are going to elect district attorneys that are not going to prosecute people for certain crimes. The crimes, aggravated strangulation, attempted murder. I mean, serious things.
Yeah, violent crime.
Felony, armed robbery. All of these things that they list, and they say, these things you no longer have to post bail for so that you won't be in jail. And maybe you can get by.
And I remember when they were trying to sell it, Rich. It was like, oh, why should a guy that gets arrested with a dime bag spend 3 months in jail? They sell it as like, oh, it's this little thing. And next thing you know, there's hardened criminals getting the one from about a year ago before Trump came in, the guy giving the fingers coming out of the
oh yeah,
to the point even like a Michael Rappaport, who's not a Republican,
that turned him.
You're like, yo, what are you doing, right? Like you start seeing it, and it blows my mind. And even now, and I'm a politically astute, I keep along. It bothers me. I'm like, who? And then you have the residents of New York City, right, that are going to vote for this. So it tells you, okay, they, like I was saying earlier, it's no longer a fringe group of people. It is a big chunk of the base, and it makes sense. The youngers are coming up, right? The millennials and the Gen Xers, the Gen Zers are coming up. This is where their minds are at. But I'll tell you one thing, and tell me if you've seen this differently. Yeah. I'll tell you, the millennials were a very left-leaning, demographic generation. But in the Gen Z, I don't see it as heavy. There is. And maybe do you see it? I see like a little divergence.
There is.
There is, right? You've noticed that too, right?
Huge divergence.
And back to Charlie Kirk.
Big reason.
There is a spiritual awakening going on in this country, and he was kind of speaking for them and a lot of it on a spiritual side.
I think Charlie was the answer to people who were asking questions. Millennials got hit with, listen, Republicans are bad. They're bad. They're just bad, racist, fascist people. And they were like, oh, bad? All right.
Yeah, cool.
No problem. Gen Z was told the same exact thing. And then they were like, so we're going to protect you by keeping you out of school. Yeah. We're going to protect you by covering your face. We're going to protect you by making sure you never see, if you're a boy, you never see a girl again in high school for that year that they were tossed out of high school, and vice versa. And that created massive depression and screwed kids up royally. And they're the Gen Z people that are diverging. They're the ones that are saying, all this yin-yang you were talking, and guess what? You messed up my life.
Yeah.
My life sucked as a result of you. And you know who was saying? Put them back in school, let them take their mask off, let them go to the park and play. That guy with the red hat and the big yellow hair. Yeah. So, now all of a sudden, I think they're like, you know what, I'm kind of open to this thing because, what you're saying doesn't sound so bad anymore. And people aren't blind.
No.
People, when you have African-American residents in Washington, D.C. saying, thank you, President Trump. Please send more National Guard. Please send more federal police because they feel safe because they can go to the bodega now and do what they got to do. You can't argue that.
No.
You can't.
No, and that's what kills me the most. It's like, this is what I was saying before. It's like the left side, liberals, whatever you want to call them, they talk down. Like, these are hardworking people. They don't want to get shot at while they're going to the store.
Nobody
They don't.
does.
Nobody wants that, right? And they just ignore that, and it boggles my mind. And like from a long-term view, from a political, because some of these people are smart political people on the other side. Like Trump says, they're smart. They're not stupid. They just have bad ideas, right? What's the end game here, or is there one? Have you thought that far down the line?
Let me position it to you this way, right? Let's say you own a studio where you do podcasts.
Sure.
Right? And you're looking for customers. And you do it out of passion for art. You want to create good podcasts. I do radio. I want to do good radio.
Yeah.
I don't just show up and talk and collect my paycheck. Why? Because there's ratings attached to it.
Yeah, sure.
And if you suck, people don't listen to your show, and then you're out of the game, right?
Yeah.
So you always got to stay on top. And the same thing with business. If you're in business, you don't want somebody to come in here that you would normally tell, this probably isn't the right fit for you right now. Start in your house, start in your room, get yourself a little backlight, build a little bit of a base, and then do that. Unless you have the budget and the advertisers for it, then I am the solution for you.
Sure.
Right? But when you start taking advantage of people, that's the part of the problem. And that's where we are now. People are taking advantage of people, and that's what government exists for many people. Right, yeah. Whether it's the local level, you and I met many years ago, battling corrupt Democrats, right? Because they were getting, I'm going to use the word getting rich, right? They were getting over on raising taxes for some people to provide for others. The same communist idea, and this ultimately, it's dishonest. So when your business, everybody's in business to make some money.
Sure.
I get that. But when your business is, I'm going to prey on the weak and make sure, and I don't care about you, but as long as you're there to do what I need you to do, then I got you. And that's where they've gotten. So I very much think President Trump is still actively trying to win hearts and minds to the MAGA movement.
Sure.
He wants you to sign up to what he thinks, and he thinks is good for America. There's not a single Democrat trying to win a heart or a mind.
No. Oh, wait, a waltz.
Yeah, but I think Waltz and everybody else, they're trying to sell you.
But it comes out vapid. Like you could tell.
Well, to me, what they're doing is they're trying to ensure the next generation of voters.
Sure.
Because why would we allow this place, Union City, there's tons of immigrants here.
Sure.
Tons of Cubans here. You can talk Dominicans. There's so many of everybody. You can talk to any one of them. And every immigrant I know that came here, even illegally, but they're legal now, they're saying the illegal immigration problem we have right now is out of control.
Of course.
Right? Because maybe they came as a visa overstay, tried to apply for papers, got married, whatever the case was. That's not the case now. Now you've got millions of people that came across the border with small children. Where do we put them?
Yeah.
How do we accommodate them? Right now you have the one side saying, we're going to help everyone. We're going to help. These are refugees, asylum seekers. Whatever you want to say is very nice. The reality is there are women that were raped. There are women because criminals were amongst the bunch.
Yep.
Trump said this 10 years ago and they thought he was nuts. Now it's all coming to pass. Yeah. And they're like, oh, I don't know, playing dumb, playing deaf. The reality is we do have an illegal immigration problem, and it was created by the politicians, not by anybody trying to look for a better life. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, they, in my opinion, have been overseeing the largest human smuggling operation in American history, and it's been funded by you and me and every other taxpayer in America. And that, in my opinion, is disastrous for America on so many levels. Right now, President Trump is doing cleanup in aisle 6. They've located 30,000 kids that are missing from 300,000 kids that were unaccompanied minors. Biden leaves and says, hey, good luck finding the kids. Take care. I lost them. Right? We all know what it is. Sex trafficking, labor trafficking. They're working in factories. I did a story on the show the other night. Kid, my producer tells me, I just saw a breaking news story out of a factory in the Midwest. The kid, his hand got caught up in a machine and they had to amputate it. Chicken plant, 11 years old.
Jesus Christ.
And I said, he's an illegal alien.
Yeah.
And producer was like, wow, why would you say that? And he took it the wrong way. And I was saying, because my kid ain't going to be there.
No.
Neither is yours. You know who's going to be there? The unaccompanied minor that Joe Biden allowed into this country for that purpose, to go work in the chicken plant at night when nobody's looking so he could lose his arm. That's what they do in China. That's not what we're supposed to do in America. Yeah. So the Democrats, during Biden's administration, allowed that to happen. I think a lot of people see this and they're like, again, immigrants included. I know people who are trying to get a green card right now that came to this country as a visa overstay, and they're like, this is different.
Yeah.
There's people that aren't here to work. There are people that are coming here with the expectation of some sort of welfare system.
Correct.
Right? And it makes the person coming here to try and work hard and try and make a better life, it makes it so much more difficult for them because
there's less room.
The baby will get thrown out with the bathwater.
Sure, exactly.
So, again, that's just one example, but it was a long answer to your question of why are they doing it. They need voters. Yeah. If you have bad ideas and you say, we're going to take money from the hardworking people, give it to the people not working so hard, why? Because we want your vote. We need you. We need a permanent underclass of people. Who did that? Che Guevara did that. Fidel Castro did that. Chavez did that. Mao did that. Stalin did that. Any communist that's worth their salt makes sure that there's a permanent underclass of people that needs the government so that they can't get by on their own too. I can't do that. And I don't think anybody should do that. No. Everybody should believe in the American dream and become a millionaire and a gazillionaire if you can. Because if Trump could do it and this one can do it and 50 Cent can do it, you can do it too, right? This is America.
No, that's the name of the show. Good plug. Yeah, I see it in Big Mouth. You know, you put on the news, the mainstream news, and they'll tell you the American dream is dead. Well, since I've opened up this studio on July 4th, it is not dead. It is fully, and it is alive, because everyone that comes through here is a grinder. They're trying to make their way in the world, be it an artist, a singer, a comedian, a musician. We just had the embroidery king of Union City sit here an hour before you got in here. Guy that's been here forever. Netflix calls him up a year ago when they started doing Happy Gilmore. Now he's the official guy that does all the merchandise for Netflix.
Look at
that. Immigrant, came, did it right, worked hard.
God bless him.
You know what I'm saying? So you see it, and that's another thing that pisses me off about the other side sometimes, the Democrats or whatever. The American dream is dead. No, it's not. It's fully alive. And it goes back to your point. They want an underclass. If people start believing the American dream's alive, you might actually start doing things on your own, and that doesn't do us any well. And that's just kind of gross. But I really love what Trump has done. Like when he went to the Bronx during the campaign.
I was there.
I know. Right? And is that amazing?
It was amazing.
For years, right, being a Republican in Union City, we're an anomaly, right? And it never mattered. All my friends are Democrat. I love everybody. But I always said, why do they not come here? Why do they not, and do you know why? Do you know why they don't come and plant the flag somewhere?
I think there's too many consultants that say, oh, look, it's not worth it. In Spanish we say, no vale la pena. It's not worth the pity. Yeah. Because you're going to spend all this money campaigning there and you're going to get 3 votes. You might even get an egg thrown at you. So you cut those things out. You make them short. You do one visit to, like Mel Martinez did when he was running for Senate.
The restaurant on the Burger Line.
Right on Burger Line. I was there for that one too. And that's it. That's what they do. But Trump was different. Trump figured out things. Trump is, I want to say, a man of the people, right? As much money as he has, Trump was always in every hip hop video. He was everywhere, right?
I love. There's a video of him going around. He's with the G Unit and Lloyd Banks in the radio studio, and Lloyd Banks is like, "Shut up, Trump's talking."
Yeah.
Like this is the guy, and I guess with the younger generation, it's harder to convey that because me and you grew up with that,
right?
And then all of a sudden, from one day to the next, you're like, "No, he's Hitler, and that's it." And deal with it. You're like, "Really, Trump?"
Yeah.
But he was in Home Alone.
Yeah,
he was a Macaulay Culkin, right? So it's so friggin' nuts, but
he was the biggest sponsor of Jesse Jackson's 1988 presidential campaign.
I know. He's been there in the culture since the beginning, and I know why he loves hip hop and that culture because, like me, I mean, he was already older than us, obviously, but that was a new part of a culture. Like when hip hop came up off the ground, he saw it as a businessman. He saw it. It was something impressive, and that's why he latched on to it. He's like, these are kids. They're grinding. They're hustlers. I like that. He didn't give a shit what color you were, what the hell you were doing. He's like, they're building something here, and I want to be part of that. And it's amazing. And it's not just with the hip-hop community. He saw it with Dana Bash at, not Dana Bash, Dana White. Dana White by giving him his first big gig in his casino, and he saw that. He is a businessman. And
he can see things coming a mile away. He's got a lot of vision.
And I've been saying this since he was in office the last time. I go, they're so ideologically power-driven that if you really cared about the people, this man will negotiate with you, right? Yes, I'm president. Our side is president. So, a lot of policies are going to be Republican. But This guy will go and he'll work with you on a bunch of things, and they won't even do that. And that is what is driving people insane. And I think it's hit a fever pitch now. Even like I said, the normies have started to pick up on it. You know what was an eye opener? It's not State of the Union, his address to Congress in the beginning.
The joint session.
When they were all just sitting there, he called it out. He's like, yo, you won't even clap for a kid for cancer in there? You go, what is wrong with you people?
Right.
Right? And sometimes people will do that from a political standpoint. He was coming from the heart. Like, seriously, what is wrong with you people? And that's what he's been saying. And, you know, it's amazing. He's a disruptor. In the end, that's what drives them crazy because, like you said consultants before in New Jersey, right? If nobody knows that's watching this, in the political game, consultants are very powerful players.
Yeah.
They very much
tend
are.
to call the shots.
Yeah, because, yes, Trump is unique in the fact that he's a business, he's run businesses, whatever. Politicians, for the most part, they're not. And sorry to say this, they're not that smart, right? They're very charming. They can have a good conversation with you. They rely on these people, right? And big part of the Trump hate is that he doesn't use them. So they couldn't make their money with him there, right? And then the same thing with the Democrats. They're told what to do, and it doesn't come from a real place, and you could tell. Right, and that's I guess that's what kind of drove me to Trump too. He's like, I remember, you know, I have another Right Here Radio, and I remember we had our first episode the day he came down the steps, and I said, if for nothing else, I don't know where this is going to go, but I hope, if for anything, he spends the next year during the campaign just calling people out. And oh boy, did he start calling people out? And it's 10 years later, and he is.
I'm going to tell you a story about that. So Trump's pollster is a guy named John McLaughlin, who I know really well. And McLaughlin told me, he said, the reason that he did all that was because he told him, he said, what do I need to do to win, John? And John says, well, you know, you've got to make sure your opponent's unfavorable numbers are this high, something like 50, 58%, something like that. And he said, so you're going to have to attack. That's all you had to tell Trump.
Yeah, he said,
and
okay.
he figured in how to laser in on attacks. You know, crooked Hillary, right? I mean, he was just great. You're fake news. He could zero in and like just go through so much noise with just 2 or 3 words. He came up with this brilliant idea, and I truly think it's brilliant. A red trucker hat with white Times New Roman letters that says "Make America Great Again." Doesn't say Trump on it.
No.
It says "Make America Great Again." This thing is iconic.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody wears it. It's a sense of pride for so many people. It's the KKK for others, right? It's the new KKK hood, they said. But you look at that and you think the simplicity of it, right? The simplicity of so much of what he's done. You're fake news. He just kept saying it. Wrong, fake news. Right? He did that to the point where here we are today, where the fake news is having to correct themselves. They're issuing retractions. They're getting rid of Jimmy Kimmel. They've gotten rid of Colbert. Yeah. Now, of course, they're going to turn around and say this is fascism. This is the government interfering. Trump didn't fire anybody.
No, he didn't.
Trump didn't hire anybody either.
No. Sinclair Broadcasting with the Jimmy Kimmel situation, they got rid of him because, you know.
Because Sinclair's TV stations are in a very conservative part of America.
It's business, money.
And as they get further and further away from reality and you start making, you know, I think the joke he made about Trump was funny. The joke he made about Charlie Kirk wasn't funny, and it was very political. And I think overall, just to talk about that for a second, overall, that whole idea of these late night comics, they should make fun of everybody. I agree with that.
Sure. I love to make fun with Trump too. This is wide open.
Right. He's an SNL guy.
Yeah,
he's hosted SNL a bunch of times.
He's very self-deprecating.
Right? Absolutely. The issue is they don't make fun of anybody but.
Yeah.
And it's not even making fun. A lot of times the jokes aren't funny. It's just designed to politically hurt you. And that's fine. Politics is a dirty game, but SNL shouldn't be politics. Neither should Jimmy Kimmel. No. Neither should Colbert. Right? I think if I tune in to watch, I don't know, MSNBC, Sean Hannity, whomever, I'm expecting some political commentary. Sure. That's cool. That's what I do. That's what they do. I got it. But if I tune in to a comedian, you know, I'm not going to go to Seinfeld thinking that he's going to give me political commentary. Yeah. And we somehow in the last 15 years, maybe a little more, have turned the late night shows into like the news again. Yeah. And instead of making
political
fun
satire,
of
political. Yeah, it's strictly political.
Exactly. And it was to the point where half the time the audience doesn't even laugh. Sometimes you just go, ooh. Yeah. You know, it's like these low blows that I think people genuinely, so when they say, oh, Colbert was losing $50 million, of course he was.
Yeah.
If you don't offer a funny product you can still be political and be funny. But if the funny goes away because you're overly political,
well, I think their audience at this point is literally the government is so big. It's just like government workers that side on that side of politics. That's all it is. If you look at their numbers, I just saw it before we came on. I believe the key demo for Jimmy Kimmel in the last week or whatever it was 129,000 people. This is a network show, and if nobody knows what that is, that's horrible. Yeah, right. That you go to an advertiser that they're like, yeah, no, I can't do it. Sorry, that's ridiculous. No one's watching you.
TV should ideally dwarf radio. Ideally. My show gets a little over 6 million listeners weekly. So if he's getting 130,000, he's in bad shape.
Bad shape. Yeah, and I know for a lot of like with the cable channel news networks, they're always money outside of Fox, but they lose money. But it's a status thing. You know, big corporation owns. We own MSNBC. We own CNN. So it's a big deal. They don't care about losing money, whatever. But on the network end of things, and correct me if I'm wrong here too, there's also different than cable. With the network televisions, there's also some kind of regulation where you really can't go that far to the other side. Like it has to be
in the public good.
In the public, that's the word I'm looking for. The public goods, and that's just with the networks, not the cable channels.
Yeah,
the networks.
Well, and radio.
And radio. There you go. So terrestrial.
Different rules for radio, but FCC governs radio, live radio broadcast, and broadcast networks like ABC, NBC, CBS. And the I've had Commissioner Brendan Carr on my show a couple of times, and he's a good guy, but he's a really smart guy. And it's kind of like a town. Let's say you have a town, you live in a town, and for years you're like, no, you're good. They never give tickets here. They never give tickets.
You kind of let it go.
That's because you've got a weak police chief, but just get a new police chief. Yeah. The minute you get that new police chief that says, hey, parking enforcement's going to be strict. I want you guys like ninjas. They don't put a quarter, give them a ticket. Guess what? What are they going to do? Turn around and say, "Oh, you're abusing my right to free speech because I didn't put a quarter in the meter"? No. Brendan Carr is cracking the whip, and he's saying, "Look, for years nobody's enforced these rules, but you're not doing things in the public good. You're doing things, in fact, that are benefiting a certain political party, one political party, and that is against the public good." So he makes this point on a podcast with Benny Johnson. And they take it as some sort of veiled threat. Now, even if you took it as a veiled threat, he's allowed to make the threat. He is the commissioner of the FCC. Yeah. You know, that's like the building inspector coming going, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Watch out. What do you think? An inspector's coming soon. Yeah. Fix what you got to fix.
Yeah.
So this whole thing of, turning around Trump as a fascist, Jimmy Kimmel got in. He's not fired, by the way. He's going to get paid his full salary. Of
course he is, yeah.
He just can't be on TV.
No, they don't want you. And this is so true. So they try to compare it to cancel culture. So here's the difference of cancel culture. Cancel culture, as we saw it in the last 10 years, was I am Joe personality. I am on TV.
Yeah.
15 years ago, when I was 12 years old, I put up a tweet that said X, Y, and Z. Just randomly out of nowhere, because I don't like what you politically think, I'm going to go pull up that tweet, show it to everybody, and then I'm going to get you canceled and get you thrown off. That's cancellation. That's ridiculous. Nobody's calling for that. What happened with Jimmy Kimmel was it's stylistic. That's the way I look at it. Like there's a certain company that provides broadcasting, and they don't want that particular person, especially in the climate that we're in right now, talking like that, period. End of story. And, like you work in any office, right? You can't walk through an office and go, F you and screw you and screw that. No, they're going to kick you out. That's exactly what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. He came in the throes of a heated moment in American history and decided to keep laying into it, and not funny either. And it'd be one thing if you can make it fun, but you didn't. You're right. That joke he made about Trump was funny, and you laugh. You're like, all right, cool. But then you go to the other side and... Yeah, it's nonsense.
It's a big national massacre, right? I think that's what we could call Charlie Kirk, right? An assassination. I never thought I'd see something like that in my life.
Yeah. But that was like the 1960s thing, yeah.
Right, it's like history. It's JFK, it's Martin Luther King.
Sure.
You've only heard about it. Lincoln, right? I didn't think we would see something like that.
We almost did with Trump.
Right, exactly. And that was shocking.
Yeah.
And I guess I lived in the bubble that maybe a president, maybe we won't see it. Right? Yeah. Because thank God we have great Secret Service people and whatnot. But I never thought that people would go after an activist, a Christian activist in America.
Yeah.
In Utah, of all places. I just didn't think that was a thing.
No,
but you look at this particular case, this young man who they say came radicalized somehow to the left. And that was what the argument is about. No, he's really a MAGA person. doesn't seem like a MAGA person. He's dating a transgender person that lives in his house. He doesn't seem to like it. He's on the record saying he hates Charlie Kirk. He hates Charlie Kirk. So I just think you talk about cancel culture. Cancel culture caused this, in my opinion.
Sure.
Right? The fact that we can say, oh, I don't like you. This is more than a boycott. This is, we want to destroy your life. We want to make sure you never work again. And that's where cancel culture was, right? They were trying to cancel you. Now it's, we're going to kill you.
Yeah.
That is
the game has gotten up.
Insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And you hear cancel culture and you hear the big names, right? What I do here during the day is I run a social media agency. So I am always on the platforms for work, running ads for clients and so forth. During COVID, someone like myself that depends on those platforms, I go up on COVID and I'm like, all right, we're 6 months in, we take the mask off, let the kids back in school. What the hell are we doing? And I would get clipped from Facebook. Like, they restrict me. So which means the millions of dollars worth of ads that I run for my clients can't do it. So it trickles down. Like, it's not just the big names. Trump didn't just get clicked off Twitter. No, it went all the way down the trade to my little old James, where now I've got to find different ways to log in and do all of this and make my life difficult. Why? Because you said something I didn't like or whatever. And in that case, that was an open debate.
But let's look at that, right? Because when that was happening to you, right, you were saying anti-vax, anti-COVID, anti-mask, something that they didn't like the government.
Yeah.
It wasn't the they is the Biden
government.
administration.
Yeah.
Right? They were actively involved, and Zuckerberg has testified under oath of this, that the Biden administration was asking him, who's saying what? Shut them down.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
That is insane. So
Yeah.
that is real fascism.
Yeah.
But yet nobody called Biden a fascist. They called Trump a fascist. He's never done anything like it.
No. And it's funny. Somebody put it up the other day, too. That big speech, I think it was in front of Constitutional Hall with the red lights behind.
What was that?
What was that? They're evil, they're this. And they're like, oh, it's not. And the masks are off, so to say, now, though, because you hear a lot of these people that before were like, oh, it's not the supporters, it's just him. Now they're like, yeah, it's all of them. And they're coming out and they're da-da-da. And you don't want to stifle free speech, but when
I don't want to stifle it. I just think don't kill people.
Don't kill people, exactly. And that's the thing with Charlie. That's the thing that killed him most. He embraced it. He didn't say, "Hey, you crazy communist, get out of my event." He's like, "Come to the front and stand there. Let's talk. Let's go back and forth."
Funny point. Not funny, but funny. Not funny. Haha.
Yeah.
The only person I've ever seen Charlie Kirk raise his voice and throw them out was a real right-wing nationalist.
Yes, I've seen that clip. Yeah, like he comes up and he starts talking all this white nationalist crap. He's like, "Get the hell out of my event."
Yeah, he was like, out.
Yeah.
I've never seen him treat anybody else like that.
Yeah.
And I call those people Nazis.
Those are Nazis.
Because that's really like neo-Nazism. They have a new name now. I forget what it is, but they're Nazis. This is Nazi culture, Nazi idea, right? White supremacy, that type of thing. And it's the only person I've ever seen him eject from a Turning Point meeting.
Because he understood. He's like, this is not what we're about. And even if I debate him, it'll still get turned around as agreeing with him. And it's like, just get out of here. He was very, very media savvy. And that's the other thing. I saw a guy, what's his name? He's on Megyn Kelly's new network. But he was saying, he kept saying it, they don't know. They don't know who this guy is, what they activated. And I'm not talking about violence, and I'm not talking about people getting in the streets and getting crazy. Like he was young, so he understood the online culture more than any other Republican that I've ever known in my life. He really understood it, and they are activated now, and it's just so cool to see it from a religious standpoint. Like they're coming at it from God, and that's something new and very welcomed in this country, because that's ultimately what this is. You can call it communist and right wing and left wing and this that. There's a very clear line right now. There is good and there is evil.
Yeah.
You can call it, put a hat on it, put a shirt on it, whatever you want to do. It's evil and good, and it
pick a side.
Pick a side, right? What do you want? Are you going to be on the side that's shooting people in the necks, or are you going to be the side that sits down, has a conversation,
right?
And then when you're done, you go out and you have a drink and have a good time and went over. So, now to that point, having a drink and having a good time. We talked about politics here for a minute. You have another side. It's like kind of like
my alter ego.
The alter ego, Rich Valdez, the nightlife red carpet guy. Explain to everybody what you do in the nightlife.
Yeah, so for years I've had a special events production company where I would put together red carpet events for different, like VH1 Save the Music Foundation, or I did one with the Red Cross once for Hurricane Sandy, and for other things. And we the idea is you want to have a good time, but you want to have a good time for a good cause.
Sure.
And I built the network that way too, because I love music. I've always loved music. I grew up in Brooklyn and in Hudson County, New Jersey, and 90s hip hop is my thing.
Yeah.
You know, so during shout out to the 90s hip hop junkies out there.
What?
And you know, when I was working with Governor Christie in Trenton, I came across Tretch from Naughty by Nature.
Sure.
He was at an
County
event.
resident?
Yeah, I was there. I saw him. I said, "Hey, what's up, man? Big fan. Keep doing what you do." And he was like, "Tell Governor Christie anything I can do to help with the Hurricane Sandy fundraiser, anything, because his house was flooded. He lives on the water." He said, "Count me in." So we exchanged info and whatever. And I told him, I said, "Look, I don't know what the governor's doing because he's running the state and rebuilding the boardwalk and all
Sure.
this big projects that were going on and fighting with the Jersey Shore at the time, the cast of the Jersey Shore."
That's right. Remember that.
But and actually, that's when they came together during Hurricane Sandy. But I said, I'm doing something at the Old Frank's Waterside. Shout out to Gus and Dina and everybody there. But I said, I'm doing an event there, and you're welcome to come. He was like, bet I'm there. So he came and he did like a 20-minute show. It was fantastic. We had a lot of people. We did a really good thing. We helped a lot of people that night. And then after that, you know, I met Ice-T's manager, and Ice-T and CoCo came. And it was just, I just met a lot of people in reality TV, and they were like, I like this. I like the vibe. You picked a good set of people. You know, they liked me for whatever reason. And
You're a nice guy, Rich.
Yeah, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And they said, let's do this again. You know, so people started coming to me saying, "Hey, look, I got this organization." I honestly, I've said more no to more things than I've said yes to, because you know some of them, you know, I'm still who I am.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not gonna jump into bed with the radical left.
Yeah.
but I love music and certain things. So you know, we've done stuff when the Grammys came to New York. I had a private after party for the Grammys. I also did a really nice event for the VMAs. They were just in New York this year in Elmont, but 2018 they were in Manhattan at Madison Square Garden. So that year, I threw a party in the city there, and that was another good party. So I've made some friends on the entertainment side. And I like that side, and so I try to, you know, whenever I can, I try to merge them. And interestingly enough, recently I was at my favorite Colombian restaurant, Noches de Colombia.
Which one?
The one on Route 46 is my fave.
There you go.
Hands down, that's my one. But the original one's like right up the street here. And I was there with a couple of friends, and we were talking about whatever, enjoying some Argentinian Malbec. It was really good. And we were talking about the Sliwa race in New York City. And I was like, you know, trying to figure out the right angle here. I was like, you know, I think we should come up with a plan. And as I'm thinking and brainstorming with a couple of my guys, Oro Solido starts playing La de la Tanguita Roja.
Who has a studio here, by the way?
Yes.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm thinking of Curtis and his campaign, and I said, La de la Gorrita Roja. And I said, wow, I think I came up with something here. So I try to put this together. So I'm talking. One of the guys I was there with used to be a barber, like I was a barber, and we were thinking of a friend of Raul Acosta, who is the Oro Solido.
Yeah.
And I was like, we got to get in touch with him and see if we could do that without getting sued. So he's like, all right, we'll call Danny Fernandez. Shout out Danny Fernandez. And before we could call Danny, the next day I wake up in the morning and I get a call, a DM from somebody that's followed me for a while on Twitter that I met through Ice-T and his crew, a guy named Ellis Pacheco. And the Pacheco part is because he's the son of Johnny Pacheco, the godfather of salsa music,
Sure.
Fania Records. And he's still a record producer. And I was like, wow, Ellis wants to talk to me. So I'm like, yo, Ellis, what's up? And he had a whole different thing. He's a conservative. And he wanted, it was a political thing that he wanted to do with me. I was like, all right, cool. We'll talk about that. And we talked about it. And then I on a whim, I go, he says, I didn't bring it up. He brought it up. He said, oh, so where'd you grow up? And I was like, well, I'm from Brooklyn originally, but, you know, I grew up in Hudson County. And he was like, oh, so you must know Raul. And I was like, who? And he's like, Raul Acosta. And I was like, actually, I don't know him. I grew up listening to the music, but I never met him. And he's like, oh, he's the godfather of my kids. We're like this, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yo, I wanted to get involved in Curtis's campaign. He was like, done deal. So funny the way these things merge. Last night, I was in Washington Heights at the 809 Club. I invited Raul. He came, and he gave the endorsement to Curtis Sliwa. And he sang the song, he said, El de la Boinita Roja, El de la Boinita Roja. It was great. It was really classic. And then just this morning, another salsa legend who used to sing with Hector Lavoe, Willie Colon. Willie Colon
Really?
endorsed Curtis Sliwa for mayor as well. There is a huge amount of Hispanics, Latinos, Boricuas, Dominicanos, everybody coming through for Curtis Sliwa because he's been there since day one.
Sure. He's been on the ground, on the streets, like street side, like not like kind of sitting in some
On the
political-
subway.
Yeah. That's some ivory tower, in Columbia University. He is on the subway with his team there. Yeah, he's like a Trump. Like you think of New York, you think of him, you think of Trump, you
James,
think of,
listen
right?
to this.
Koch.
I'm talking to Raul Acosta, Oro Solido, who's a big-time guy now. Like, he still tours.
Yeah.
He made all his money, and he's super famous. But he's running for president of the Dominican Republic.
Roller coaster.
Yes.
Get the...
Yeah.
The guy I let into the building 2 weeks ago.
That one.
so
and
funny.
he's got a great shot. But we're talking, and he says, growing up in Union City, there were two really big figures across the water. Donald Trump, billionaire, playboy, and Curtis Sliwa in the streets.
In the 80s, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you saw on the TV. That's right.
And so if you were from this area, you knew that.
Yeah.
And it's funny that he said that. And in his endorsement speech, he said that. And it was really endearing to see that. Because he's a Democrat. And he's like, Oro who? Yeah, English. How'd it go? Yeah, it was great. And he was really, really enthused. I think sometimes, like, that Megan Thee Stallion thing with... Kamala Harris. That was contrived. I'm sure there was money involved. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
This is not that. These are people actually are fans of Curtis. They want to see Curtis as mayor.
Yeah.
They're bringing their people to the table, their infrastructure to say, hey, I'm gonna get my people on the ground to be there for you on election day to get the vote out. So, I mean, you get a salsa superstar, a merengue superstar. I think it's fantastic to see what's happening.
Yeah, and just to jump back into the politics, the Hispanic community they're conservative. They are. Like, I've grown up with them, Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican, El Salvadorian. Some of the younger so-called educated ones may go to the left a little bit, but the people that came
That's
here...
what pushes you to the left, the education.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go to school, become a nut. That's basically what they're pitching right now, and be in debt for about 30 years after you leave the school to be a nut, but that's crazy stuff, Rich. But, this has been a great conversation, man.
Brother, pleasure.
Always. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
Catch
good
your
luck.
show. When's the show? Where can they find you?
Yeah, richvaldes.com. That's Valdés with an S. Every weeknight, we're on 300 radio stations from 9 p.m. to midnight. I hope you can check it out. richvaldes.com.
And your socials?
At Rich Valdez on all of the socials.
That's with an S.
With an S.
All right. Thank you. See you next time.